Ninguém te compra onda e a fronta longa não tomba como uma sirene.
Hey, what's happening? When people talk about rap, they usually talk about New York, Atlanta, LA, or Chicago. But while the world focused on America, France quietly built the second biggest hip-hop market in the world, and most people have absolutely zero idea. But how did it happen? Hip-hop first entered France during the early 1980s, and initially, the culture looked extremely similar to America's movement overseas. French teens copied breakdancing moves, covered train stations in graffiti, and hunted for imported American rap records. At first, French rap felt more like admiration than innovation, because artists were still heavily inspired by New York's original sound then. But eventually, the environment surrounding French hip-hop began to change everything, especially inside the dense suburban hoods surrounding major French cities. These areas became known as the banlieues, and they played a huge role in shaping French rap culture for future generations afterward. And this is where the story really changed. The banlieues contain large immigrant communities including North African, West African, and even Caribbean families searching for opportunities within modern French society. Unfortunately, many residents felt disconnected from mainstream France. That's because unemployment, discrimination, racial tension, and heavy policing shaped everyday experiences. And interestingly, these conditions mirrored parts of the Bronx decades earlier, where American hip-hop originally developed through frustration. Because of that similarity, French rap stopped feeling like an imitation surprisingly fast and started becoming something unique to its own culture. Suddenly, the music felt personal. Artists weren't simply copying American accents or trends anymore because their music reflected the frustrations connected to their lives. The difference became incredibly important because, French rap eventually evolved into its own kind of thing, and the audience could hear the difference. But this situation became the breeding ground for something nobody saw coming. By the 1990s, groups like I.AM and Supreme NTM completely changed French hip-hop forever, and this was both culturally and artistically. Now France had its own voice. I.AM emerged from Marseille and created music mixing history, spirituality, and street culture into deeply cinematic storytelling experiences for listeners. Meanwhile, NTM approached rap differently because their music sounded raw, confrontational, political, and openly hostile toward institutional authority. Their songs criticized police brutality, government neglect, and systematic inequality long before these conversations became globally mainstream, ya know what I mean? And unlike mainstream American rap becoming increasingly commercial during the 1990s, French rap maintained darker emotional themes throughout evolving generations. And that was the point. American rap increasingly embraced luxury imagery, celebrity culture, expensive jewelry, and radio-friendly production designed for larger commercial audiences. But French rap moved differently. The music felt colder and more emotional, and listeners connected with that deeply. And as a result, the production was more cinematic compared with upbeat mainstream American rap dominating international radio stations then. And eventually, even visually, French rap videos often emphasized urban isolation, towering houses, emotional distance, and tense social environments surrounding marginalized communities. That atmosphere helped French rap stand apart globally because audiences connected deeply with that music. And even millions of listeners across France embraced the movement completely. But then, one artist changed how France viewed rap entirely. Then came the arrival of MC Solaar, whose success proved French rap could become intellectually respected while remaining commercially successful. If American audiences barely know him, that reveals how disconnected English-speaking listeners have historically been from foreign hip-hop movements worldwide. MC Solaar made rap sound intellectual without making it boring. His music blended wordplay, jazz influences, storytelling, and poetic delivery. That changed everything because critics loved him because his music demonstrated rap could sound thoughtful and artistic without losing mainstream popularity. And more importantly, MC Solaar helped legitimize French rap culturally because older audiences finally started taking the genre seriously throughout France. And for French rap, that was a huge moment. But beyond commercial success, his popularity revealed something even more interesting happening underneath France's rapidly growing rap industry. France was no longer trying to imitate American culture because French artists confidently translated hip-hop into their own experiences. At that point, French rap had fully found its identity. That confidence changed everything because French rap evolved independently while still respecting the American foundations. Eventually, rap became the dominant genre throughout France, and today, French streaming charts remain heavily controlled by hip-hop artists nationally. French rappers regularly sell out arenas and dominate streaming platforms. They also influence fashion trends despite receiving little attention from American audiences internationally today. Then, the industry changed yet again. That disconnect became genuinely shocking once people discovered how influential artists like Booba became throughout modern French culture and entertainment industries. Booba understood something early. Attention is power, and he used it better than almost anyone. He built an empire through controversy, branding, business, and reinvention. Some people compare him with the likes of Jay-Z because both artists expanded beyond music into business, influence, and broader cultural power. Others compare him with 50 Cent because Booba built enormous popularity through public feuds, intimidation, and calculated controversy. Either way, French rap now has its own mogul. His impact on modern French rap became impossible to ignore because countless younger artists borrowed elements from his style. But then another group transformed French rap yet again, and honestly, their success felt unlike almost anything happening elsewhere globally during recent years. They was called PNL. PNL barely behaved like celebrities because they avoided interviews, ignoring traditional promotion. And most importantly, they constantly embraced mystery throughout their growing international popularity. Their music felt distant and almost, emotionally numb. And at times, PNL barely sounded interested in fame itself. Ironically, that's what made them even bigger and badder. And somehow, millions connected deeply with their music because emotional isolation became one of the modern youth culture's defining experiences, And this is where the story became bigger than France because hip-hop transformed differently everywhere else. In Britain, artists like Skepta and Stormzy helped grime become Britain's defining urban sound throughout recent decades. Grime sounded faster, harsher, and more aggressive because London's environment shaped the music differently compared with American rap traditions. Meanwhile, in Brazil, rap evolved alongside favela culture, reflecting poverty, resilience, celebration, violence, and community identity throughout urban hoods. And then there's Nigeria, where artists transformed Afrobeats into one of the world's most commercially dominant music genres today, with artists like Burna Boy and Olamide proving that African artists could influence global music trends without American validation no more. Well, that's important because music culture no longer moves exclusively outward from America like it once did. Now sound travels internationally, evolves locally, and eventually returns transformed through streaming platforms connecting artists and listeners globally daily. A producer in London can influence musicians in Lagos while simultaneously borrowing inspirations from Paris and New York artists together online. And that interconnected system completely changed music forever. But despite all of this growth, most American audiences still missed it completely. So naturally, the obvious question becomes why American audiences barely acknowledge France's massive rap industry despite its enormous popularity. Part of the explanation involves language because most American listeners overwhelmingly consume English-speaking entertainment. But unlike pop music, rap depends heavily on lyricism, slang, emotion, rhythm, and cultural references. And that makes it difficult to translate perfectly between languages. While subtitles translate words, they don't translate feeling. But another reason exists too, and honestly, it's connected deeply to America's relationship with hip-hop. America still views itself as hip-hop's natural center because the genre originated there before spreading across international audiences worldwide. And well, that makes sense. And if we're being fair here, American artists did create the blueprint inspiring nearly every global rap movement existing today. But streaming platforms change cultural power dramatically, because audiences now discover music independently without relying entirely on American media gatekeepers. That means enormous rap ecosystems can thrive internationally while remaining almost invisible to English-speaking audiences consuming entirely different cultural conversations. And France became one of them ecosystems. Rap may have been born in New York, but it outgrew America a long time ago. And France became one of the clearest proof of that culture, evolving into something completely new. Which country do you think has the most interesting hip-hop scene today, Let me know in the comments.